Hi all, and welcome to Radiance Particle Effect Creator demo. So we just released version 1.4, and we made a lot of changes, pretty big changes to the software, and so that is basically the reason we thought it was really necessary to make a new demo video for you guys. All right, so I will not make any effects today. I will only try to explain how the core functionality of the software are working. So first, this is how the user interface looks. In Radiance, you can work with up to 5 emitters, displayed in the top. And the black area here is the canvas area or viewport. This is where the effects are displayed. By default, the canvas area is black and displaying a simple effect. So, if you want to, you can rename the emitters, and that's a very good idea when you're working with multi-emitter effects to get easy access to each emitter. If you want to rename the emitters, just hit this pen icon. Click the emitter you want to rename. A dialog will show up asking for a new name. Just enter the name you want. I will call this dot. Hit enter, and the new name is set. And this can of course be done with any emitter. You can change the background of the canvas area if you want. There are some predefined backgrounds in Radiance which you can scroll through by clicking these arrow buttons. Basically, there are some textures with different colors and one transparent background, which I will explain a little later. There is no limit to the backgrounds. You can add your own, of course. To do that, you just simply go to, let me see if I can get a hold of the right folder. You simply go to the root folder of where you start Radiance. There is a resource directory. Enter it. Go to the canvas folder, enter it, and this is all the canvases that are available in Radiance. So let's just delete that one. I will enter that image again. So I just copy the image to the folder, and Radiance will automatically detect changes in the folder, so you don't need to restart or anything. Just start by clicking these arrows and loop through till you get your the background that you entered, that you copied. Okay, so sometimes, of course, this background are larger than the viewport, and if there are some specific area on the background that you need to display the effects on to get a preview how it will look in your game, just hit this padlock, and you can move around the background, position it to where you want. Just hit the padlock again to lock it, and you're good to go. Alright, so let's just reset. I will default back to the black canvas, if I can find it. There. Okay, there is a layer button switch that you can switch here. This is for if you're working with a background that has transparency. I can show that by selecting this image. This is an image with the transparency. The black area here is transparent. And of course, if you're displaying the effect, it will be above everything. If you want it to be below the objects, just hit this layer button. And all the effects will automatically be displayed behind everything. Alright, let's just reset everything back to normal. Let's try to find that black background again. There. Radiance supports working with either 30 or 60 frames per second, and we added that function because we noticed that the effects are somewhat different between the two modes, And if you're working with a project game, for example, that is been set to 30 frames per second, it's a good idea to switch Radiance to the same frames per second to get a better look on how the effects will look in your game. Moving on to the sprite selector. I'll just hit this one for to be able to explain how this works. The sprite selector is of course the sprite used for the particles on the emitter. So if I want to change sprite, I just hit the sprite selector. Dialog will show up with every sprites available in Radiance. To preview how the effect will look with the new sprite, just click it once. If you find the sprite that you want to use, just double click and the new sprite is loaded. So that's pretty simple. And of course you can add sprites to Radiance exactly the same way as you added the backgrounds. Just go to the sprites folder instead. This is all the sprites available by default in Radiance. Just drag and drop your sprites that you want to include. Okay, so every emitter, of course, is controlled by a numerous of parameters, which are displayed in the dark gray area. And each group of parameters has a specific color. This is to quickly identify what is what. I will just hit this to get all the parameters. Okay. So to alter the parameters, there are some different ways. You can click the text and drag it to right or left, which will to the left will decrease the value, and of course the right will increase the value. And all the changes are automatically displayed live with the effects, the emitter. You can also click the value itself. It will pop up a dialog asking for a new value. Just enter the value and hit enter. You can also default every parameter back to the default value by double-click the text. So that's really neat. All right. Moving on to the group function. The group function is when working with multi-emitters. I'm going to activate the second emitter on group. Just position it a little different than the first one. If I hit group, everything is moved together as a group. This is useful if you are making a multi-emitter effect. For example, you are using 3 emitters for creating one bomb effect, and you need to alter the position for the different emitters, but eventually when you got it right, you want to move them as a group. You can just hit the group and move them around. Okay. There is also a loop function. The loop function will make the emitters loop. If I hit that one now, nothing will happen, and that is because the loop function will only kick in if the duration is not infinite, which is -1 is infinite. If I, for example, set emitter 1, that's the blinking twinkling stars, just set that to 0.1 second, you can see the effect is looping. This is just a way to make it easier for you to create short effects. Okay. You can of course, let's just reset something here. You can of course copy one emitter to another, and this can. Why isn't this showing? Ah, it was on the loop. Infinite. There you go. If you want to copy this emitter, you can simply hit the copy button. Then you want to click the emitter you want to copy to. The paste button will lit up, and you just hit paste, and the effect is paste. If I ungroup now, I can move this copied effect. So now you have a copy of it, and that's useful sometimes. And of course, the reset button is doing what it says. It will reset the selected emitter to the default values. So if I hit this one, it will automatically default everything on the third emitter. Just mute that one. Okay, let's talk about the animate. The animate function was added to make it easier to look how to get a look on how the emitters or the effects are looking when moving. Because if they are just standing still, they are just like this one, very different. For example, if you're making a trail for a rocket or anything. That is the reason why we added the animate. If you hit it, it will start moving in a predefined path. It will move quite static. So if you want this to be more dynamic or softer, you just hit easing, and it will start from now to accelerate and deaccelerate between the points. If you hit rotate, I'll just see if I can get a more easier effect. If I hit rotate, the selected emitter will automatically rotate and face towards the direction it's moving. Let's see if I can find an effect more suitable for viewing that, displaying that. Let's see, now it should turn. Yeah, it turned around, moved, turn around, facing, moving. Okay, you can alter the speed of the animation by the speed button. You can choose between speed 1, 2, 4, and 8. And the speeds are just a double of the previous one. So speed 2 is a double speed from speed 1. Okay, I'm going to turn off the animation. Center it. We added the auto effects, which is basically kind of a randomize function, but this auto effects will keep itself within some limits that we set in the program. And the reason that we needed those limits is that we noticed that without it, the effects were very often very wild effects that has really no use. So we added the limits, but we added also a slider that is controlling the limits. So on minimum, it will create smaller, more complex looking effects. Whereas if you put this on maximum, it will create more larger effects without going bananas. So that's the reason. Okay, you can alter the particle size of the particles, of course by parameters, but we also added this plus minus, which is a decrease and increase the size. So if I hit plus, all the particles would double itself each time I click it, and of course hitting minus will go down in size. There is also a resize wheel, but those two controllers are different. The resize wheel will actually make the whole effect larger. So let's say I want a really, really large effect, but I still want small particles. I can just alter the particles afterwards. But you can see the effect itself is the same size. So let's go back. Okay. Each effect or each emitter has the particles has a start color and a finish color, and you can alter those colors by the parameters in those two sections. But we also added the color pickers to the left hand side of those parameters because it's more intuitive to just pick the color that you want. Let's say I want to have the start color and at blue and finish in red. There we have it. You can see there are some more variations of the colors, and this is the variance parameters on each color. And we also added a variance slider to the color pickers to control those values. So if I hit this one, you can see all the variance parameters are 0. Let's say I want the blue to be 0.26. If I now increase with the slider, you can see they are increasing proportionally. So it's just an easy way to alter the whole variance thing of one color. Okay. Moving on to, let's see, we talked about animate, easing, rotate, speed. We didn't talk about load, save, and export, so let's do that. Starting with the save, hitting that one will open up a save dialog. It will ask you for an effect name, and it needs to be 5 to 35 lowercase characters. If you're trying to write uppercase, it simply won't allow you, so you won't go wrong. Let's say I want to call this star. I couldn't write that. Star stripe. Now I have the possibility to share the effect online by hitting this share checkbox. If you hit it, there will be some additional text, and read it through. It says that to share an effect online, we are asking everyone to keep a descriptive name, of course, to the effect, and this is to make it easier for other users to search for the effect and get good matches. You can write created by, and this will be displayed in the effect name online. This is just to credit the creator. This needs to be 5 to 14 lowercase characters also. Worth mentioning is that, of course, we are asking everyone to use good language, no bad language in the effect names, and of course keep it in English, easier for everyone. And we are also moderating every effect that's coming in or are uploaded. And if we see it fit, we will change the name or to make it more descriptive and so on, and even delete effects that's not really have a good use for anyone. It might sound a little bit harsh, but the reason we are doing this is that we believe that creating a good online library where we have a lot of effects that are very useful and quality effects. This is something that everyone is benefiting from. All right, we gave it a name. We said created by. I just hitting save. It will upload the effect. Okay. It also, of course, saved the effect offline, and it automatically pops the output window. And there you have it, the star stripe. This is just a JSON file. So that's your preset. Okay, if we want to load an effect, we can hit load. There's a dialog opening up. You can switch between local view and shared view. The local view will display all the local effects that you have saved. Just clicking one effect will automatically load it and display it on the right hand side in the viewport, and you can check it out. So, and of course you can see in the top how many emitters are used and the name of the emitters. Okay, so let's say I want to load the star stripes. No, let's say the green goblin, which it should be spelled like, but it didn't. I'm hitting load. A new dialog will open up and asking me if I want to merge or replace the effect. Now this is let's say, for example, that you in your project you have already made use of emitter 1, which makes emitter 2 to 4 available. Now you're trying to load an effect that uses one emitter, then you have the possibility to merge because there is available slots in the main project. So if I hit merge, you can see that it just added the effect to emitter 2 there. Let's for example say I have already used 4 emitters. I'm hitting load, trying to load. Yeah, of course I didn't have any. Let's go on the shared side. Um, like this snowfall, for example, it uses two emitters. Now we know that we already used too many. So if I hit load now, the merge option will be grayed out. So the only option you now have is to replace everything, and it does. You can also go to the load. Let's go back just one step. This is the snow effect using 2 emitters. If I hit load and selects an effect that has 2 emitters, for example, let's say I only want the waterfall. I can just mute the splash, and if I hit load and merge, I will only get the waterfall. So that's a really good feature. Okay, let's go back into load. Like I said, we have a shared library. Hitting the shared button will display everything that's available online. Not much at the moment. It wasn't out for long, but we are hoping that users are adding good effects. And we will also try to make a lot of factory effects and add them as we go. So this is like I said, the author is displayed in the effect name. So that's a really good thing to be able to have a good online library of effects, we think. You can of course both in local and shared filter. So just type whatever you want and it will automatically filter out for you. Okay, let's hit cancel for now. You can export everything by hitting export. In this case we used 3 emitters, and it will then export everything for you. Open up the window, output window. Each emitter has one file, a JSON file, and let's just see. I'm going to, for the sake of it, delete everything, and I will hit export again. There you have it. So you have snowfront JSON, you have snowback, and you have waterfall JSON. You also have the sprites that are used with the emitters, and you also have one text file for each emitters. This text file is displaying some information that we think are useful. The one thing it displays are the name and the emitter X and Y offset that are used in the project. And this is for you to get easy access to the parameters or the values when implementing this in your own game or project in Corona. Okay, I'm going to slide those aside. I think I said it all pretty much about software. You can create really stunning effects if you're learning the parameters well. If you have any questions, if you wonder anything about each controller, just hit the help button. It will display a text saying please click on the object you want help with, and of course if you do so, it will show information about each function. That's an easy way to get access to information. I also forgot to mention the padlocks that are all over. Those padlocks are used for if you're using the, let's just reset some emitters here. Okay, so we're hitting the auto effects. Let's say for example, you want to lock down the particle size. You can just hit the padlock. It turns red, and all the padlocks that are red all the sections will not be affected when hitting the auto effects. So that's a really good feature. For example, say particle speed. I want the particle speed set to 100. I will lock it down, and if I hit auto effects, it will keep the same uh, the same speed. So that's good to know. And of course, the sprite selector also has a padlock for you to lock down, and it will not change the sprite if there is a certain sprite you want to work with. Okay, so I think that's everything. Check us out in the Corona SDK marketplace, and the software is available there. If you have any questions, of course, look us up on Facebook. Just search for Radiance Particle Effect Creator, and you will find it. Okay, I hope you have fun making awesome effects, and thank you very much for watching. Bye bye, guys.